Hey guys, and welcome to a brand new episode of Trade Talks. I go about as Medici FX, and this is the 18th episode. It's been a while since I posted one. I've been doing some things in the back. However, I've got a brand new guest on the show. Her name is Elle, or other way known as QWERTY LFX, on Instagram and YouTube. I'll definitely link everything into the description so you can check her out. I'm super excited for this episode because a brand new guest means brand new story, brand new knowledge, some things we could talk about and share with you guys. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the podcast and I'll see you there. Enjoy. Hey guys, so we're here with the live podcast. I'm here joined with QWERTY LFX, otherwise known as Elle. So you might have known her from Instagram. This is my first time meeting her. So it's a huge pleasure to have you here on the podcast. Welcome.
Hey Stefan, thanks for inviting me on.
Yes, my pleasure. How have you been?
I've been okay. Yourself?
I've been great. Thank you very much. How was July and June for you, trading wise?
Oh, June was really good. July has been honestly quite slow. So it's part and parcel of trading, right? You got ups and downs.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think also the summer liquidity kicking in right now, more sitting on the hands and just waiting for the plays to come out.
Yeah.
So
I think the European traders are probably on their summer holidays.
exactly. So most of them are out of office and enjoying the good weather. Well, good weather is debatable, but they're out of office.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, cool. So, as this podcast, there's this little tradition. I ask traders kind of how they started and everything and how they got to where they are right now. But before I ask you that, I actually want to ask you, when you were growing up, did you ever think you're going to end up in a field like this or doing something for yourself, like realizing that there's more in this world than only working for someone and obeying someone's orders, but also being able to discipline yourself to actually get there and work for yourself?
Wow. To be honest, no. Because I'm Asian, right? So the
Okay.
Asian culture has always been go to school, get your degree, find a good job, quote unquote good job, and
Yeah.
then just work for someone. So when I first started trading, I honestly had a lot of kickback from my parents. So that was quite a struggle when I first went full time. It was semi by choice, I would say. So when I first started trading, I think when I was young, honestly, I never really knew what I wanted to do, to be very honest. Like, some kids, they are young, they're like, oh, I want to grow up and be a doctor, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I never had a specific career in mind. Yeah.
And did you go and follow a traditional path of educational system because you didn't know, or what did you do?
Yeah, 100%. So, like with almost every Singaporean out there, right? Our traditional path is always go to school, get your university degree, get a job. Full
Okay.
stop.
And what did you? Yeah, I mean, same here, I would say. And what was your bachelor's, I suppose?
Yeah, I did a bachelor's in accounting first, and then I moved on to marketing.
Marketing, okay. And
Yeah.
to what extent do you think it's applicable to what you do right now?
Honestly, zero.
Okay.
Honestly. Yeah, the marketing aspect maybe a little because now I'm like running my own so-called business. So all the marketing is done by yours truly.
Yeah.
I'm a one-man show. I guide other traders. I do my own business. I do like my own teaching, my own social media marketing. Everything is just done on my own.
Wow, good for you. Okay. And you didn't proceed to do any masters, it was only bachelor's.
Nah, I'm not the studying kind, to be honest.
Okay, no, I can relate to that. And where along in your path did you get introduced to forex? Where did it all start for you?
I think because I graduated and I went into the finance industry the moment I graduated, right? So my first job was actually in a stock brokerage firm in Singapore. So
Okay.
at that point in time, I was exposed to the Singapore stock market and I saw how manipulated it was. Because literally I was collecting checks from brokers and their customers doing large amounts, and then you can just see the movements in the market intraday and intra-week. So then after that, I went on to move into my second job at Citibank. So that was when I first formally got introduced to the forex markets through like one of my colleagues at that point in time. And yeah, I think that's like 7 to 8 years ago when I first started trading.
Okay. So it's been a journey since then, I suppose.
100%. It's ups and downs.
100. Yeah, I agree. And what made you persistent in continuing this journey? Because I suppose there were a lot of pitfalls and, obstacles in your way.
Yeah. I think there were a lot of large losses that I took also, as with every trader when they first start out.
Yeah.
But I think what kept me going, because 7 to 8 years is really a long time.
Yeah.
Working and trading at the same time. So for me, I think what kept me going was the fact that I could see growth in myself in terms of having an understanding of the markets, and just the feedback loop I feel in forex trading is quite fast. If you're right, and you'll get paid off from there. If you're wrong, you'll get punished. And it's quite quick. Like you can have your answer within the week, within the day, or even a few hours or just a few minutes in just one sweep of a candle. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's what really kept me still trading until this day.
Right. Okay. And how long did it take you before you became self-sufficient, as a full-time trader?
I would say ever since I had to leave my job last year. Yeah. So I wanted to leave last year in December, but my plans got brought forward to January. And yeah, from there on, I've just been doing everything on my own. Okay. Saving up during my working years and then just trading my own capital. And then recently this year, I just went full prop.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's a great opportunity for people, not even the ones who have saved up capital, to leverage on that. But I believe that those prop firms, some of them, they have really high requirements, and that also drops off a lot of traders, as it's a really demanding kind of challenge.
Yep.
So
100%.
How did you get, prepared for that? Or can you maybe explain which funding challenge you're doing and, how you got about to getting funded with them?
I think for me, when I first started trading, there was no such thing as prop accounts. Nothing. Yeah. So everything was my own money in my own live trading account. Then after that, when I went full-time last year, I was still trading my own funds. Obviously, it got a bit more difficult because there is the stress when you are kind of quote-unquote jobless and you don't have a stable income coming in every month. And then you start to see like, oh, my trading account is dwindling. It's getting lesser. And then you get the stress and then blah, 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 all the other... Yeah. Like, just the whole stress doesn't help with trading, basically. Yeah. So once there were a couple of people talking to me about prop, but initially I was really hesitant joining in because to me, I was of the notion that if I trade my own funds, I have full flexibility, no limitation as to how I want to trade it, right? But after a while, once I gained a bit of consistency from my own trading, since I went full-time, then I realized that, hey, there's a different perspective to this. How about looking at it from a capital management perspective? Because the ideal situation with the props is you use a small amount of capital to get a large amount of trading capital, right? So as long as you can perform within their parameters, you should be able to do fine.
Yeah. So you applied kind of more a hedge fund strategy instead of like
I would say so.
One. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. Because when I was at the banks, I was selling funds and stuff like that. So I kind of understood how mutual funds and hedge funds were doing their business because we had to get educated on that as well. So I was thinking, if they can do something like that, what's stopping me from doing it? So smart. Yeah, I think that's how it drew me into looking at the prop firms. So when I first started, FTMO was the biggest one. Yeah. So obviously I went with them first. Yeah. Then I had also heard of like Funding Talent and like at that point in time, I think these were the two major companies I heard of. So I went with FTMO first. It was the very first challenge I did. Obviously, I blew it. Wasn't very sure. The stress of the trading parameters, I wasn't ready for it at all. So
it's
I
can really be very upfront
and say I blew it. Yes, yeah. But and at that point in time, I was dealing with quite a bit of stuff because I think I put too much on myself at that point in time because I was going full-time for the first time. Yeah. So that has its own level of stress. Second thing, I dumped myself into something that I've never tried before. Yeah. Then the third one was, I think at that point in time, my strategy wasn't very refined. So my RR was just barely scraping by their trading requirements. So that was very tough. Yeah. So right now, ever since I sorted everything out, I'm funded with funding talent now, and I'm currently trying to max out on their challenges for 300K.
Yeah, wow, good for you. That's
Yeah,
really interesting how you took that aspect of that hedge fund kind of mentality where capital preservation is key. I think many people overlook that and look at more of the scenario of like I need to make more money instead of I need to
exactly.
preserve my capital.
Exactly. Yeah. People always go into the prop challenges thinking that, oh, I'm going to make way more money than I could have made on my own trading account. And I
Yeah,
think that's the wrong mindset going into it. The first thing about trading is always protect your capital
yeah,
and to keep your losses as small as possible, right? That's like the number one rule we always learn. However, many traders, I think it's innate in the human nature that greed is just a part of us. So they
yeah,
always see the outcome
yeah,
rather than all the ugly quote
yeah.
unquote ugly sides of trading, like the hard work of managing your capital and just managing your risk.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. And then also they're looking for a lot of confirmation bias on their trades. When they're going negative, they try to revenge trade to get that capital kind of back, and
Yep.
that's where they lose that notion of preserving their capital because with their instinctual brains, they're just going at it. They're trying to find certainty in an uncertain market, and that's where it goes wrong
Yep.
for
Yep.
for
Exactly.
them. Yeah. What do you think your biggest pitfall was getting to where you are right now?
I rush things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I said, when I went full time, I loaded on too many things and I tried to get too many things done at once. And that was when things just went south for a bit. Then I took a small break from everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I was part of a community at that point in time. I dropped off for a bit, just went off on my own,
Mm-hmm.
sorted out my stuff, got everything, just got my mind right. And then I came back into trading again.
Right. Yeah, I think being on your own clears up a lot of things because you have the less noise
Yep.
from other people. Just like on charts, you don't want the noise from the small weird candles. You just want the bigger time frame sometimes. I think
Yeah.
same in life is just when you isolate yourself, you understand what's going on more clearer.
Yep.
Let's jump into your trading itself. I'm interested, what is your trading style and what's your background like? Are you institutional or what do you look out for on charts? Because I've never seen you chart or so super interesting to know.
I I suppose if you really need me to classify myself, I would have to say that I'm more towards this institutional kind of trading style.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, we're all retail after all
Yeah,
because no one has the funds that the banks have.
yeah.
But ideally, I do trade in the footsteps of the banks.
Mm-hmm.
I have reached a point where I understood why market structure forms the way it does and price action does what it does. So I would say I'm a supply and demand trader. You have many names for it. Just to be honest, I think it's just all marketing, but essentially it's the same fundamental thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I trade supply and demand, and with just price action confirmations. That's it. Zero indicators.
Mm-hmm. And do you have a mechanical approach to this?
Um, when you say mechanical, what exactly do you mean?
Well, in a mechanical approach where you have the set plan, where you have the set of rules which have to get checked before you get into a trade, because with supply and demand, one zone has to be, for example, verified by several things in order for it to be a valid zone.
Mm,
So, in
yep.
what do you apply that?
Oh yes, definitely. I'm a strict proponent of that. So like in my mentorship itself, I am very anal about it.
Mm-hmm.
If Yeah, to the extent that if I do have a trading checklist, and a grading system for my trades, as well as a validation checklist for the zones that I put up on my charts.
Yeah.
So it has to meet both criteria before I actually execute a trade. If there's something missing in it, then either I size down or I just don't take the trade.
Right.
So yeah, it's like how a pilot has a checklist before they fly, right? I have the
Yeah.
same thing.
Good analogy. I like that. Do you look at lower time frames a lot or higher time frames? What's your kind of lookout?
um, I trade off I'm more of an intraday slash swing trader.
Mm-hmm.
So I enter intraday, try to hold them up for swings if price allows me to. Most of my trades I enter them 15 minute, 1 hour or 4 hour.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I try not to go into the lower time frames. Like you say, the lower time frame has a lot of noise.
Yeah,
So
exactly. But then if you're a swing or an intraday trader, I must believe you are really following fundamentals for it to support your moves.
oh, you'll be quite surprised with my answer actually. I kind of know. I will look at the calendar to see if there are fundamental news coming up.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest, in my entire duration of trading, right, I don't care much for it. Like I
Okay.
don't really bother like, oh, if the NFP is going to come up with X result, what's it going to do to my trade? I
Right.
don't really bother because I'm a believer that price would already be priced in and the technical analysis will give you your answers. So I
Yeah.
try not to drown myself in the news.
Yeah, a lot of the times it is priced in. I do agree with you. However,
Yeah.
sometimes on swings it is better to know if, for example, JPY is weak or strong. If we've got COVID cases running on
Hmm.
JPY with, for example, the Olympics, and let's say it's
Yeah.
going south, and
Yeah.
we're trying to buy GJ, it would be better for us, for example. Those kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
things.
Yeah. But like for me, when I say that I'm a swing trader, I think it's more, I just look at it simply as I just hold my trades longer
Mm-hmm.
to go from one swing to the other. That's about it. But I know that as a the true definition of a swing trader has all these fundamental aspects to it. But I can be honest and tell you, I really don't look at it. I don't want to introduce more information that I need to
Okay.
execute my trade.
I mean, yeah, keeping it simple. Yeah, no, I respect
Yes.
that. If it
Yeah.
works for you, that's amazing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your RRs normally on trades?
I've been averaging about 5 to 6 R
Okay.
on my intraday trades. Yeah.
Wow. Wow, that's really nice.
Yeah. It's not the best, obviously. There are people trading my kind of strategy, doing like double digits and stuff like that. But more importantly, it's what you I believe it's what I can deliver consistently. So
Yeah.
if someone can do like 100R, 30R, 40R, okay, fine. That's their ball game. But so far, what I've been able to deliver consistently has been about 5 to 6.
Yeah, I believe consistency goes much further than a one-time 100 hour trade.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want my trading curve to be like a roller coaster. I rather it be a like gradual incline.
Exactly, no, and that's far more respectable for even if you're trying to build a track record.
Mm.
It's
Yeah,
far cleaner to see that kind of track record than a 100 hour trade and then you lose like 50 R and then hey, another 20 R in the plus. Okay.
yeah.
Have you gone through many like strategies to get where you are right now? How did that path kind of? Because many people are lost, and I have people on this podcast who are refining their strategies for years, and it took me, I think, 2 years to actually understand what I really want from a strategy. Because I went from scalping to kind of intraday to swinging, and it only
Hmm.
now is starting to get a little clearer for me what I want. So how is it for you? How did you get about to understand what you want and which strategies you've tried out, kind of?
I think um as when we first start, right, you
Mm.
see all tons of strategies online,
Yeah.
Bollinger Bands, MA
Yeah.
crossovers. Oh my god, whatever you name, I've probably tried it before.
Yeah.
But I would say I've always gravitated back to price action trading and just naked charts in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I've been through the indicator strategy. So like I said before, I quit the industry completely, right? I mean my work industry.
Yeah.
um I I was trading an indicator strategy. To be
Mm-hmm.
honest, I traded it for 3 years. I was never profitable. So I had a whole bunch of like pairs that I was looking at, 24 to be exact, every single day.
God.
It was a day trading strategy. We were
Wow.
only executing like 1 or 2 trades in like a week. For a
Wow.
day trading strategy, trading 24 pairs with indicators, that's like, oh my god, that's too slow, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
so after that I just went back to my roots and I just went back to my naked charts.
And when you were looking at those 24 pairs, did you look in correlation? Did you look at the correlation between pairs, or was it just every pair for themselves, kind of?
I did look at the slight correlation, but it was more towards like every pair for themselves.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
after all, the entry criteria was just if my indicators do something, there's my entry.
I see so many courses right now online providing those kind of strategies where they have a 14 EMA crossing a 28 SMA and then they sell.
Oh.
And the baffling part is, sometimes it just works for a month or three and they're all chuffed up, sitting there
Hmm.
making like 70 pips. And I'm like, how, like, Okay, it works, but damn, long term it's not gonna work out. But let them
Yeah.
have their little moment.
Yeah, yeah. I think if you've been in the industry long enough, right, you'll know the expectancy of a certain strategy. So
Mm.
I believe that honestly, every strategy works, but
Hmm.
people don't stick with them long enough.
Yeah, there's a book. It's called The Way of the Turtle, and they talk about that creating the edge. And the problem is that they even talk about in the book that they can give a 90% working strategy to somebody, but they'll
Mm.
still be able to mess it up simply because they're not really following the rules consistently and not just going with it. And I believe that's what
Yeah.
many people have. They work for on a strategy for 6 months, and then they see, let's say, 2 or 3 failing weeks, and then they're like, okay, time
Mm.
for a new strategy.
Yeah. Or they try to finesse the strategy and then add extra things that were never in the strategy and then they wonder why it doesn't work.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. And then they start combining strategies, and then they're like, "Yo, I got the new sauce, I got the new magic key," and then you're sitting there like, "Nah, it's not gonna work out."
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
so your tip, I would say, is then to stick to it and figure out like to stay consistent with it, or like for a
Yeah.
strategy
I would
for work.
say yeah, I would say pick one strategy, give
Mm-hmm.
yourself 6 months to a year.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, that is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
If you can achieve a degree of consistency from there, right,
Mm-hmm.
you know you have found your so-called secret sauce. Because there is such a thing as a good strategy, but
Yeah.
it has to be accompanied with a trader's edge.
Yeah.
That is what will ultimately lead to your so-called profitability in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Yeah. No, that's true. That's interesting. More on the emotional side of things, I would say that trading is 80% emotions based psychology. And before, when I started this whole podcast, this was actually called psychology talks or something along like those lines, because I really wanted to focus on the psychological aspects where people go wrong.
Yeah.
So I would want to ask you, how did you cope with emotions when you started with trading, and how hard was it for you?
When I let's see, when I first started trading,
Hmm.
it was just gambling.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, I mean everyone's been through that. You
of
see the
course.
wins coming so fast, and then you're like, "Oh wow, that's so much money I never seen before."
Yeah,
Um, so you feel like a god at that point in time, and you
100%.
always win in the
Yeah,
beginning,
yeah.
always.
Hmm.
And then after you hit your string of losses, you're like, "Oh no, I'm not a god anymore. What's happening? My account is disappearing."
Yeah.
Yeah. So, then after that, so that was the first part when I realized that, right? My first step was because at that point in time I had no education. I was
Hmm.
just trading on my because I was working in the banks, so we had like traders themselves who would come on to give us like daily updates on the market. So I was basically trading their views.
Okay.
So I was lucky with that to a certain extent. But after a while I realized that they they need to hold their trades longer and I don't.
Uh,
So I found that okay, there's a gap there because I don't hold my trades as long as the bank does,
yeah.
not even for their own clients, because they were trading in like windows of like a week to like a few months at a
Yeah.
go. And I'm not going to hold my trades for so long. I know that's not my style, that doesn't fit my personality. So that's when I went to find like some sort of trading education and I went into a whole rabbit hole of courses. Yeah. So um that after a while, during the entire duration, I think journaling has helped me a lot in managing my psychology
Hmm.
in terms of identifying like my trigger points and what gets me excited or down in the market. So that has been very important and like crucial into me being so-called calm
Hmm.
on the markets right now.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
everything is documented on paper, and then you can like look at it, and your mind is kind of empty as well, because you've
exactly.
documented it all.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And that must have helped you essentially with dealing with the losses and the wins, both
Yes.
ways. Right.
Yeah, because I already recorded my expectancy. So
Mm-hmm.
if it lies within my range, then it's just part of trading probabilities, right? But if something hits outside of that range, then I know, okay, there's something wrong here. I just got to just maybe either take a step back, take a break for a bit, like,
Yeah.
and then come back again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's yeah. No, that's well. And how do you deal with losses then? Or do you have any set rules on losses? Like if you make 2 or 3 losses or a loss, like what do you do?
Yeah. So daily, I think once you've been trading for a while, right, you generally have a feel for the markets.
Mm-hmm.
There are days when I come onto the charts, I'm like, oh my God, the chart looks ugly. So first thing is, if it looks ugly and it looks like almost untradeable for that day, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
go off for the day, to be honest. You don't have to trade every single day.
Yeah.
And that's like one way I try to stem my losses as well. Because if you don't trade a lousy trading day, like for example, Mondays sometimes are quite slow to set up.
Yeah.
So if you know that, right, then don't force anything on that day and you won't lose.
Mm-hmm.
People always come in excited and then they want to take trades. Oh, like it's Monday, let's go. And then
Yeah.
after that, oops, loss.
Yeah, and then their
But
whole
yeah,
week goes down the hill as well.
yeah, exactly. I really hate losing on Mondays. It affects my psychology like double
Mm-hmm.
compared to the other days. And then if let's say on a normal trading day, like the rest of the week, usually if I take like two losses for the day, I just call it a day because I
Mm-hmm.
know either there's something wrong with me that day. I'm not seeing the markets the way I'm supposed to because we all have our off days, right?
Yeah.
Or secondly, it's just price is not giving me what I need to see, and then I
Yeah.
just step off.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
fair. And I think back to Mondays, it's also a day where institutions are setting themselves up for the week. So there's a lot
Yes.
of trapping going on as well to get the retail out the picture so
Yeah.
that they can position themselves for the liquidity grabs for the move into the
Yeah.
counter direction for the whole weeks. And that's why many people also lose on Mondays, I would say.
Yep.
So that's a key to kind of just stay back a little and just and look what's happening instead of jumping on. Yeah. And
Exactly.
what about winning streaks, or how do you deal with? Because essentially, when you're winning, in our subconscious mind, you're still like happy. So how do you make sure not to be too happy, not to end up losing that capital?
For me, every week and every day actually, I do a review of my trades that I've done, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really focus on the process rather than the outcome.
Okay.
So wins are like part and parcel of trading. So if you have a winning streak, you will have a losing streak. I'm very aware of that. So during the good runs, um, I try my best to just protect my capital as much as I can. So I still continue executing as long as it meets my trading criteria. But I'm also aware that like some people will be in the mindset that, okay, I already took 3 trades today, maybe I should step off the chart. Sometimes I am like that, whereby I want to kind of lock in my gains and not trade anymore, right? But sometimes the market just runs good that way. And then you just got to just catch onto the wave, I would say.
Yeah.
But with every winning streak, yeah, just know that it won't last.
Yeah, it is a
So yeah.
statistical game of probabilities. Like if you have winning, you'll have losing. If you have losing, you'll have winning. Essentially.
Yes, exactly. So if you're up, it's just like working a 9 to 5. You have times when, oh, year end, you have your bonus, right? So that's your winning streak.
Yeah.
And if you blow that amount, then essentially you're back at square one, right?
You can look at it like that. Yeah, interesting. Okay. I've never heard someone say this. This is interesting. Nice. Okay.
Yeah. I'm full of analogies. You'll find out in time.
No, that's really interesting. That's really cool because everybody has their own kind of way of looking at it, and it's super cool to see how people perceive the different things. Yeah, from their own perspective. Super cool. Aside from trading, more personal kind of life. How do you? Are you someone who's open with your environment or personal space? Or are you someone who's really like closed, and you're really picky in the individuals in your field to make sure they fit the kind of virtues you're up for, or kind of like that they have to be like driven, for example, or goal oriented, or they're doing something which also motivates you, or how do you choose people in your circle to get to where you are right now, I would say?
I think I've just like with trading, I've been really picky
Mm-hmm.
about the circle.
Mm-hmm.
So I've heard a saying, I forgot from who, but we are like the best of the 3 closest people that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I believe that it's important to surround yourself with people, like you said, of the right values, of the right mindset,
Yeah.
so that you continue on the same path. Which is why as you grow older, right, like your circle of friends just shrinks.
Yeah.
But yeah, this group are the ones that in a morbid way, they're going to be there at your funeral when you die, and they have lived through all your life's ups and downs in a morbid way.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, it is true. It's true. So, yeah, so then I would say you also favor driven individuals around you to make sure you're also up and going, kind of.
Yeah, yeah. So like for example, with regards to my trading itself, I'm very particular about the community that I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
So currently I've built like my own community and I'm really strict about who I let in.
Mm-hmm.
So previously, for those that know me, I did have a live stream before.
Mm-hmm.
I've since stopped it because yes, I am aware that some people do take it as a form of learning, but there is more noise than benefits to holding the live streams.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just my way of just keeping the right people around me as well.
Mm-hmm. Right. But do you still have contact with those people who, for example, were there for the learning, or did they also kind of fall off?
Yeah, those obviously there were some that fell off.
Mm-hmm.
The bulk of them fell off. Those that were there for like signals and stuff like that. The bulk of those people, those
Mm-hmm.
kinds of people fell off,
Mm-hmm.
which is the intent of why I went off the streams.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is those that really were interested to learn, they came onto the private community eventually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they
And
have that.
even during that and even during that period of time, they already had that intention to come onto the private community. It's just that because the streams were on, they didn't see the push factor, I would say.
Yeah.
But once I went private, then they were like, oh, that's great. Now we have a quieter and
Yeah.
better environment to trade together in.
Yeah. True. Okay. Yeah, that is true. I mean, I had a signal service running like the whole last year, and we ran. I think most of the months were profitable, and we had a community going. But when it came to push and shove, when we had that chats and everything, I think only like a quarter of the people joined into the chat community, and I think only out of like 100 members that we had, there were probably 7 who were actually contributing charts. And now at this point, I think I only talked to like 4 of those people who I met through the charting service. So, you know, it's evident to see who's in there for the quick kind of moment, and those who are actually
Yes.
learning for the longer run.
Yeah, exactly. That's also part of the reason why first so there were a couple of complaints that I had from like the public community where I was like shutting down all my public avenues to me.
Huh.
I also had like a chat service going on, right?
Right,
In my
right.
Discord. I closed it off in like 2 days and then people were like, oh, why are you closing off more and more things? Like we don't have access to you anymore. And then I'm just saying, you guys still have access to me. I'm still on Instagram every single day. You see me posting every day.
Yeah.
So if you need me, I'm there. But
Yeah.
other than that, the Discord is just going to be for those people that really want my attention, need my help,
Mm-hmm.
are of the right mindset to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm going to focus my attention on them.
Yeah, of course, because those are the people who value you much more than if you're
Exactly.
only pushing out the content for for someone to see and not even engage in it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
funnily enough, on what you just said, those people who are complaining that you're shutting everything off, if they actually had the right intentions, they wouldn't be complaining because they would have just
Yes.
found another way of getting around to you. There's a million ways to get somewhere and get something done. It's just a matter of mindset.
Yeah. And whether you want it bad enough.
Exactly. So if now they're already giving this kind of attitude, it just shows they won't make it, and maybe not now, maybe later they would understand. You could never judge a person, but at this particular moment, it's not their time, and better off, better to save your time and better to save their time and their losses and all their negative emotions.
Yeah, 100%. Get rid of the toxicity, I would say.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
But actually about toxicity, it's an interesting one because all these fake gurus, for example, on Instagram, or any guru these days, because there's a lot of them and everybody's trying to teach you how to be the correct person, or like all these like Grant Cardone and all those people, how to make millions or how to be the best you, and all these books that they make you
Yeah.
read. I think that's also toxic in a way, because they're like, yeah, you need to remove toxic people out your life. Like if your mother or father aren't working hard like you and aren't reading 50 books a year, you should cut them off. It's like,
Yeah.
it's all fun and games, but the sad truth is that a lot of young generation is actually falling in that trap. And
Yep.
I want lie, I actually had that kind of issue as well for a couple of months, where I was like, if no one around me is working as hard as, for example, as I am, they have to be cut off. And that's also like a lie, I believe, in some sense, because you should have a balance with the people around you, but
Yes.
not to a point where like you should cut everyone off because they're not reading 50 books a year.
Yeah, everyone has like different goals, right? You got to understand that.
Exactly.
So, like you said, balance is key. I think the hustle culture is,
It's overrated, I think.
yes, yes, it's overrated. It can be toxic if you take it too far.
Yeah.
So, like for example, Grant Cardone, Gary Vaynerchuk, they are very successful people.
Yeah.
I cannot deny that their
No.
hustle is on a whole
They're
different
good
level.
marketeers.
But yes, yes. But I mean, you got to think for yourself, like, what are you hustling for and why are you doing it? I think that's key because they
Exactly.
know their why.
Of
Do you
course.
know your why?
Yeah.
If you don't and you're following their why, you're gonna burn out sooner or later, which is why burnout is just another common phrase that we hear nowadays as well.
Yeah, for sure. You know, that's it. Like you said, you're following their why, and their why is to get you on their platform so they can grow
Yes.
further in their, endeavors and whatever they have set out for themselves.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
also really interesting talk I have with a lot of people in my life is like, do you read books? And I have some people who are like, I've read, for example, 12 books in a year, and some people are like, I've read 2 books. But funnily enough, there's people, for example, who read 1 book in a year, but they would apply far more from that 1 book than those who read like 20. And
Yes.
they would be much better off. So in that regard, also, like you said, think for yourself. Like if you're reading that many books, like why? What are you applying,
Yeah.
and is it just for the flex for the Instagram, or is it actually for your
Yeah.
own benefit?
Yeah, yeah. Like when I was into that whole hustle culture thing, I was like, because they always preach the read X number of books
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
month
yeah.
or something like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Then after a while, I was like, man, I'm struggling to finish my books. And at the end of the day, I realized I was like, what did I read? Like I
Yeah,
can't even remember
yeah.
what I just read. And then after a while, I was just like, nah, this is not for me. I'll
No,
read
exactly.
what interests me,
That's
number
it.
one, and what I think will help me.
And that's
So
it.
we have got like so many other ways of reading right now.
Yeah.
Just pick out the main points.
Yeah.
Honestly, all productivity books and whatever mindset books that you have, to be very honest, they all say the same thing.
Yeah.
You need to read 10? No.
No. You read one, you make good notes, and then you can replicate the other ones.
Exactly.
You could
Yeah.
rather read a different kind of literature about different kind of things to add dots in between between the books. For example, I read a book which is tiny. It's I think 50 pages. It's called The Anatomy of the State. Just now, I just finished it, and
Yeah.
it talks about how the state, so any state or government, has been in control for the last centuries, and how they use different kind of illusions or different kinds of words or images to persuade the people into believing what they want them to believe. And I don't need to read, for example, like a book on how to be a millionaire, for example. No, I'd rather read a book like that and understand what governments do and how they use the power, and then maybe apply those kind of tricks into my own, for example, business, and that would work far more than reading a book where they're going to tell me, yeah, I need to stay up till 3 a.m. and work harder on my Google Doc, Like,
Yeah.
think a little bit outside the box to apply different kind of knowledge.
Yes.
I think.
At the end of the day, knowledge is everywhere.
Yeah.
But do you need to absorb everything? You
Yeah.
can't and you shouldn't.
Exactly. I've also listened to a lot of podcasts, for example, and there was a really interesting individual who ran a multi-million-dollar business, and he said the reason he actually succeeded in his business is because he managed to find the 1% of correct information, which led to correct knowledge, which led to him succeeding in the business. So that's the key. You need to find the correct kind of bits of information and stick them together.
Yep, exactly. To that point, right? I'll be very honest with you. Like a couple of like people in my community, my social media community, they are always asking me like, what trading books do you recommend?
Yeah.
I'll be very honest and say none.
Okay.
You know how people always like to say, oh, you should read Trading in the Zone. That's like the number one Bible.
Well, I've
called,
read it a couple of times, but okay.
Yeah, but I'm of the view like books can be outdated because now we're moving in like such a fast-paced world. Yes, some of the things that they talk about fundamentally are correct, but you got to keep yourself like updated with the times as well. And if like anyone who's asking me, right, the books that I'm recommending, they are not even trading related. They are
Yeah,
more like psychology related.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Because I think because those are the dots you can connect to apply to trading.
exactly. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And I think also on the topic of hard work and hustle culture, it's cool to work hard, but working smart gets you way further than working hard.
Oh,
You know, like
yes.
all these
Yes.
corny Instagram quotes, like if you were if all constructions are working hard, if all the construction workers are working hard, why are they not millionaires? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of mentality. But in reality, it's just working really smart. You can work 2 hours a day and be much further than someone who works 10 hours a day.
Yeah, 100%. It's just how do you make the best use of the limited time that you have?
That's it. You know, like we can say crypto as an example. Also, don't get me wrong. It's really everybody's on crypto, but I'll take this a little further. Like in 2020, when the whole market crash happened, when oil futures were trading negative, for example, I'm pretty sure you may remember that.
Yeah.
In that time, what happened to the crypto market? It actually dipped, but I did not hear anyone talking about the market. But people who are smart and people who do their research and they're looking for the right information, they did the research then and they understood that if this collapse like happens, there has to be a recovery. Hence,
Mm,
investing at that point in time would have been the biggest discount on anything you could have bought, and it
exactly.
would have brought you much further than buying on the tops in, let's say, March 2021 when everybody's on it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
there's your difference between working hard and smart, because the people worked hard to flip their coin 2 or 3 times when the bull run was happening, but no one worked
Mm,
smart to flip it 100 times last year when they could have bought it at a way cheaper price, for example.
yep. And you know what that and I think my my opinion about that and why that is just fear.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you see the thing just taking a
Mm-hmm.
huge tumble down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your first thing is like, oh my god, it's gonna go lower.
Yeah,
And
of
that's just
course.
natural
Yeah.
human behavior, right? But then again, you look at the likes of like Warren Buffett. Where's he always buying?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's always buying
100%.
when people are fearful. And then
Yeah.
and how rich is he now?
Yeah.
So there are very few people that trade like him. I
Yeah.
wouldn't even say trade. He doesn't even trade.
No,
But
no, it
like,
invests.
yeah, yeah. So, but the key thing is what he has that a lot of us do not have and strive to have is patience.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, it's really just patience.
It's patience and a bit of critical thinking. Be-
Yes, exactly.
if you're in any stocks or in any crypto or even at the forex market, if you can take a moment and look at how price reacts and how price works, you know that when a price is really, really low, it has to go back up. And when it's
Mm,
really, really high, it has to go back down. So all this FUD, even around Bitcoin,
yeah.
about 60 grand, and people are like, yes, it's so cheap and it's gonna go to 500 grand. And I look at them
Oh
with
my,
like in awe, and I'm like, guys, the last
look
tops
at
were
it.
20,000. Like you're up three
Yeah,
times from last highs. Like
this thing
where?
is coming down.
Yeah, it's gonna tumble hard. And what are you guys even waiting for? Like, but and
Yeah,
that's fine. Trying to look for certainty again in an uncertain market because we have all
yeah,
these biases in our head.
yep.
Yeah, no.
And there's also group thing, right? I think then the
Yes.
recent rush on Bitcoin was and all the cryptos is just basically everybody just hyping each other up and then they
Yeah.
all just bought into it. And then
Yeah.
next thing, you always know, like if someone is buying, someone has to sell.
A zero-sum game.
Yes,
Absolutely.
exactly.
And when everybody on crypto Twitter, for example, is buying, what do you think the institutions are doing? They're loading up their bags to start liquidating their positions.
Yeah.
And what happens then? And that's when all the retail just gets absolutely smashed.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
So, all in all, can we conclude that trading is a somewhat solo game, or would you still condone to some extent the group work in FX?
Nah, I honestly think it's more of a solo game, which is also why like what you spoke about courses and stuff like that, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a course.
Mm-hmm.
I've said it before that I will never launch a course because
Okay.
there's so many courses out there.
Yeah.
Why do you need another course?
Yeah. Yeah.
But what's missing in the industry that I've found is there hasn't been someone there for new traders or experienced traders to just guide you through your process,
Mm-hmm.
because you can learn from a textbook. It's the same thing as learning from a course, but you don't get the feedback that you need, which is why you are just phasing out and you hit losses after losses and blown accounts after account. So yeah, that's partially why, like, I know there are good courses out there,
Yeah.
but the gap is always the feedback loop.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, like you said, I still think trading is quite a lonely game, sad to say.
Yeah.
But it is the way it is, so that you can remove all the excess noise.
Yeah. And that's why it's not made for individuals who can't bear to live alone with themselves and their own thoughts.
Yeah.
It
yeah,
exposes
exactly.
you to a lot of your own fears, and I think that's why traders are all-rounded individuals in the aspect of they're not alone. They're not scared to be alone, and they're really strong individuals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it's evident because it's one of the hardest jobs out there. Maybe not physically, but mentally, yeah,
Oh yes.
100%.
Yeah, you're in your own thoughts most of the time, and you're just fighting your own demons most of the time.
Exactly, and I think, and I don't need to think, I know that a lot of people, most of the people on this planet, are really scared to fight their own thoughts, and that's why they dig down into, for example, cheap entertainment and quick gratification
Yes.
to kind of fade away from them, so that the next day comes and then they can just do their schoolwork or something, and then they fade back into the instant gratification loop,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
most of their life.
Yeah. It's the same thing with forex trading, right? That's why people promoting big wins on their
Yeah.
accounts and then flashing all the cars and stuff like
Yeah.
that sells.
Yeah, of course it
That
sells.
sells.
It's in our nature that we like flashy things and we like glamour and we like all these cool things and lifestyles, which
Yeah.
are overly exaggerated for most of those people.
Yeah. Yeah. The true rich people don't have to flex.
True rich people, exactly. They're really
Yeah.
low key on the Instagram, really low key.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So how does your daily environment or routines look like? Do you lead a really calm schedule and with meditation or something, or do you lead a really busy schedule because you have a lot going on your plate? How does that work for you?
I think it's meditation. I've tried it a couple of times. It's been tough because I kind of have ADHD, so it's really hard to keep still.
Right.
So I think for me, I'm blessed to be in Asia. So I have all 3 trading sessions available for me to trade. But I make it a point to stay off the Asian session. So that's when I do my daily analysis to set up for the London and the New York session.
Yeah.
I don't take trades then, even though it looks really yummy to take a trade. Nah, I don't. But after that, once I've done the daily analysis, which I post to my social media, after that I just take a short break and then I hop on some mentorship calls with the gang, and then I just hold my live room, London to New York. So that's basically my routine for the day. So I would say it's quite packed, but it's packed with things that I know will drive me further.
Right.
So I've removed like last time when I was younger, right? There will be times at night where I'll be like, oh, nah, I'm going out for drinks and stuff like that. Now I'll just call off my trading for the day and stuff like that. But now I think it's more like I treat it as a business.
Yeah.
You don't take an MC when you don't feel like. You can take an MC when you don't feel like working. But if you do that on trading long enough, you're not going to grow your account.
100%, and you get out of tune of what's happening around you as well, I believe.
Yeah, that's exactly true. So for me, sometimes I do take breaks, but I don't take them for very long.
Okay.
And when I'm on my breaks, I try to go completely off the charts, because sometimes I feel like I need a fresh perspective into the markets. So that's when I take maybe the max I'll give myself a month.
Right.
The longest I've taken was 3 months after I took a very, very big loss with my previous community. And then I just took 3 months because I was just so shaken up by the fact that, oh my God, I lost that much money.
Right.
Yeah, but I was not in the right mental state at that point in time. And it took me that really big amount to just wake me up and then just really dig back into my education again.
And do you take these breaks often or not? Let's say not maybe not a month, but something smaller, do you take breaks often, or do you like to keep it consistent with trying to stay on charts as much as possible? Well, in let's say in how can I say this? Like being alert of what's happening in the market fundamentally, even wiser, like that.
Oh, I definitely still stay in touch with like what's happening on a daily basis, but
Okay.
whether or not like I'll still during my breaks, the longer breaks, like the monthly ones,
Yeah.
I will not really come into the charts very often, but I do still roughly have a look at like, oh, is the general direction still going the way like I anticipated and stuff like that.
Okay.
But as for like really doing really in-depth analysis to like find setups and stuff like that during those monthly breaks, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really take them for very long.
Yeah.
The only times I do that, right, is when I hit a really bad losing streak.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you have seen on my YouTube page that I took a break early this year
Mm-hmm.
because there was just too much going on my plate. So I had the streams going on, I had like my mentorship going on, I had like my training performance just hitting the drain at that point in time.
Yeah.
So I had to just clean up everything first. So that's when I really took I think it was almost like 2 months, I think,
Wow,
where I just
okay.
went off everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now I've learned but during the entire period of time, like yes, I was still on the charts looking at stuff, but I was looking at it more from an educational perspective. Like, okay, I went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
How did I go wrong? Why did I go wrong?
Yeah.
And then I just slowly refined my strategy. And I would say that ever since that point in time, I think even my own followers have seen like the immense growth that I have done since that break.
Yeah.
And it's funny to say, like every time I do a break, right, I come back and then it's like, whoa, what the hell happened to L?
It's like much better in a sense.
Yes, much better. But back to your question, obviously I try not to take these breaks too often because when I come back, I am a bit rusty. Like I take a while to come back to like my original self. But so what I do on a daily basis, because I'm more of a day trader, right? I just set alerts at my zones.
Yeah.
And if I see that price is just ranging and doing nothing, I'll just go off the charts for a bit.
Yeah.
And then I'll just maybe get an exercise in or just go do something else with like my family or like my friends for that period of time. And then I'll just come back the next session.
Right.
So there are small breaks in between.
Yeah. Yeah. I think many people, when they think of going full-time in forex, means they have to sit 24/7 behind the charts, and that burns a lot of people down. Because I believe, I don't know, when you started full-time, did you have an issue of spending too much time on charts, for example?
Oh yes, definitely. Because I felt like if I wasn't there, I'm gonna miss something.
Yeah, because you're kind of in your own control of your own money because you need to make money consistently, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
And how did you go about fixing that to calm yourself down, not to have that anxiety anymore, I would call, for example?
I think the first thing is a lot of people who want to trade full time, right? The main reason is they want to leave their 9 to 5, right? So if they're gonna spend more time on the charts than their 9 to 5 hours, then that's really ironic. So that was like the first thought that I had, and I was like, what am I doing? I'm spending even longer than I was working.
Exactly.
That's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
So after a while, my zones are where they are. I'll let price come to me. If it doesn't and I miss something in between, I'll figure out why I missed. If it doesn't fit my criteria, that means it's a genuine miss and there was nothing I could do about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, no, that's true. When, for example, I'm not full time because I also do university next to this. But when I started with university, for example, I would spend an immense amount of time on charts. And then at one point, I'm like, this is not really going to work out because if I'm going to have a job, I'm going to be, working pretty much the same, if not less, the time I'm spending on the charts. So now I spend roughly per week, I would say maybe like 3-4 hour tops on charts, not including Sundays, because on Sundays I do maybe like a couple of hour prep. But because I work with pendings and I just work with like zones and then of interest, and if they work, they work, and if they don't, they don't. So I like to minimize my engagement, let's say, on charts, because I also am a really kind of rushy person, and when I got into trading, I tried scalping, and the thing is with me, my patience was also very low, and it took me a really long time, even with pendings, to calm down and not force those pendings.
Yes.
Like I would move my pending
Yeah.
up and down just because I saw it coming closer or further away.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been there as well.
I can imagine, because you've been in this game way longer than me. I think twice the amount because this is my fourth year.
Yeah, yeah.
So I you've been there, and it's a pain in the ass.
Yes, it is. And then you just fight your own demons, shifting that line up and down and up and down. And then you see just price just running away from your line all the time.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, so now it's more like, yeah, spend this time on charts, and if it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Means institutions are doing something, or that means the price was, grab liquidity somewhere else, and so be it.
Yep.
Because there's a millions of opportunities, and it all depends on your own perception. You know.
Yes. Yep.
So I don't fear the kind of the lack or losing something, or missing out on something, because there's always another
Yeah.
place to recoup.
Yes, exactly. The beauty about trading is there's no lack of opportunities. Your
That's
job
it.
as a trader is to find those opportunities, the right ones, and to capitalize on it.
That's
But if
it.
you're going to jab at the markets all of the time and then just keep losing your capital,
Yeah.
each time you take a wrong jab, you're gonna get hit back twice as hard. And then
Yeah.
that's gonna affect your psychology and you can't take the right trade when it does appear. And it always appears.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's what separates trading from anything else. Is in trading, you lose your own money. In a 9 to 5, you can't lose your salary. You're gonna get it regardless. And in trading, it's you're playing with your own salary, whether it can be negative or positive, and you just need to learn just to calm down. And
Yeah.
consistent capital preservation is what's gonna get you to make it in this world. I
Yes.
reckon.
Exactly.
Really interesting talk. I really appreciate this. It's really interesting to hear your insights on everything we talked about. Is there maybe anything you'd want to add, or any tips for people out there starting out, or who are on their journey, based on what we talked about, or anything new?
I would say, yeah, I mean, based on the couple of like recent encounters that I've had with people who are like talking to me about like learning and then their losses itself, right? It's interesting behavior to me that I see that people are willing to do a trial and error with their own money, trying to figure out the markets instead of taking that same bit of money and just getting themselves educated properly. Like, that's just a really sad fact about trading. It's like before you even knew everything you knew from your life now, right? You had to go to school.
Yeah.
And yes, you're kind of forced, I would say, to go to school, right?
Yeah.
But do you really need someone to force you when there is an opportunity to make like so much money? Nah. But I that's just a sad fact. Like, I'm always a strong proponent of education. Even at this current juncture, I'm always looking to like educate myself with traders that are doing way better than me, because there's always someone there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say constant education and be
Yeah.
willing to invest in your education. That's the key thing.
That's a good point. That's a really good point, because you can, for example, learn off of baby pips. I don't know if you've probably heard of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can learn off a lot of things, but really, funnily enough, you're gonna have to unlearn most of it if you want to be
Yeah.
successful.
Yeah, exactly.
That,
Like,
that
free information is free for a certain reason.
exactly, like some of it is useful, but the real nuggets, which make the 10% or 5% the winners, is the reason you need the mentor. And yeah,
Yes.
it's baffling how people would take a loan to go to university, and they spend a couple of 100,000 or even just 100,000 on school or
Yeah.
whatever, but not dare to even put in 2 or 3 thousand into an education, which
Oh, tell me about it.
exactly, you don't even need to, like, you don't even need to go into trading. If you want to become, I don't know, a chef or something, you can find a mentor who's been there and done it, instead of going to culinary school and just have like a private kind of education. Yet
Yeah,
you might
yeah.
even get more info out of it,
Yes.
kind of in that regard.
Exactly.
So
And I think when you're so, I think people see it as they are paying someone to do it, but I think the perspective should be you are shaving off whatever time that you have spent trying to figure that out, and the losses you have incurred. That's
Yeah.
your tuition fee, to be very honest.
yeah,
You just pay it to a different person called the market.
yeah, yeah, true. And I believe, I think smart people and people who are really out there and successful, they understand that time is actually the only asset we won't get back. So by minimizing the time spent on trying to figure out these losses, like, sure, you can spend 10 years of figuring out everything yourself, or you can spend 2 years with a mentor who will show you ins and outs. And
Yep.
successful people know that those 8 years is going to be the difference between their financial freedom, for example, and them wasting their time, you know.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
That's why, you know, businessmen outsource a lot of their um, what's it called?
Minute details of
Activities.
their job.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, outsourcing, you
Yeah.
know, that goes a long way. Same with mentorships.
Yeah, exactly.
Really well said. I really appreciate that. You know, I really appreciate you here on the podcast. We've had a really interesting conversation.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me again.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much. I'll add all your links into the description essentially. I'll let everybody take a look. I'm really hopeful that people out there have learned something or taken some notes and actually found this interesting. And, you know, to me, this was a really interesting episode. And then on this note, thank you very much again once more. And,
You're welcome.
for everyone out there, there's more to come. So stay tuned, take care, and goodbye.